Good morning, class. So today we are going to talk about the second part of plaque biofilm and periodontal microbiology. Okay, so for all those who have not seen the first video, please watch that video first, because today I'll be starting from factors that affect the supragingival dental plaque formation. Okay, so yeah, let's start. Factors that affect the supragingival dental plaque formation. So they say that early undisturbed plaque formation forms an exponential growth curve. Okay, so which means that during the first 24 hours, like the microorganisms are only coming together, they are starting to form colonies, and it says that less than 3% of the tooth is covered and it's not really visible clinically. So over a period of 3 to 4 days, around 30% of the coronal tooth coronal area is covered by plaque. Okay, next is I had told you in my previous video also. So first, when the primary colonizers come, it is predominantly aerobic environment in which there are gram-positive facultative species, and then eventually as the secondary colonizers also set in, it becomes an oxygen deprived environment with predominantly gram-negative anaerobic microorganisms. Okay, so initially when there are only primary colonizers, it is gram-positive and eventually it becomes gram-negative. Okay, next is topography of supragingival plaque. It basically means that the formation starts at the marginal area and then in the interdental area, which eventually covers the tooth. Surface micro roughness, it is stated that the more rough your surface, then the more chances for plaque accumulation there. That is why you tend to give smooth surfaces to whatever FPD or RPD you place in the oral cavity. Okay, individual variables that influence plaque formation, it only basically means that the rate of formation of plaque and the rate of formation of calculus will be different for different people. There will be heavy and light plaque formers. Okay, variation within the dentition, I told you, in supragingival plaque, predominantly they get their inorganic constituents from the saliva. So there is more deposition of plaque and calculus in the areas where there are salivary ductal openings. Okay, so the buccal surface of the molars, the lingual surface of the lower anteriors will be the area in which there is more plaque and more calculus compared to other areas in the dentition. Okay. Similarly, impact of gingival inflammation. The more the gingival inflammation, more will be your gingival crevicular fluid that is released, and you say that for subgingival plaque, they use the inorganic components from the GCF. So it's all a cycle, you know. They use the inorganic constituents from the GCF. More the amount of GCF, more the tendency for plaque formation in that area. Okay. Now, more important than that is the characteristics of biofilm bacteria. Okay. So in this, predominantly you have to understand that these bacteria, if they are present in a free stage, which is planktonic stage I had mentioned in my previous class, then it is easier to remove them compared to the time in which the bacteria are forming colonies. So once they form proper colonies, then it becomes 1,000 times more difficult to break them down. Okay. And next is these bacteria, when they are present within the oral cavity, they live like, by helping each other, and also there is bacterial to bacterial interaction and there is bacteria to host interactions as well. Okay, how do they help each other? Okay, I'll come to that. For example, there is a microorganism called as T. denticola. Okay, so that releases a product such as succinate, and this product is used by P. gingivalis for its growth. This is one of the easiest example. Okay, T. denticola releases a byproduct called succinate, which is used by P. gingivalis for its own growth. Okay, now what is an example of host microorganism interaction? The bacterial enzymes that degrade the host release ammonia. Okay, so the host cells are releasing ammonia, which is used by certain other bacteria as a source of nitrogen. So for example, hemin ion from the breakdown of host hemoglobin may be important for the metabolism of P. gingivalis. Okay, so there is bacteria to bacterial interaction in which they are helping each other, and there is bacterial to host interaction also, in which certain byproducts from the host are used by the bacteria for its own growth. Okay, so next thing is communication between the biofilm bacteria. Now this is also very important. Last class I had told you, it's like each bacteria is able to be in touch with the local environment, other bacteria like the mobile phone that we have. So it is called quorum sensing. Now what do they do? Like, how did you know that they are actually contacting each other? It's because when there is any antibiotic that is given, there seem to be a change in the expression of the genes of all the bacteria. Okay, so the way it is mentioned in the text is, bacteria secrete a signaling molecule that accumulate in the local environment and trigger a response for a change in the expression of specific genes once they reach a threshold concentration. Okay, I hope this line is clear. I'll just read it once again. Bacteria secrete a signaling molecule. Bacteria secrete a signaling molecule into the local environment that triggers a response which causes a change in the expression of specific genes once they reach a threshold concentration. And this is seen because there is a change in the expression of genes for antibiotic resistance, discouraging the growth of competitors and other functions. Okay, so I hope quorum sensing is clear to you. The sentence is broken down in pieces, it's easier to understand. So please go through Carranza today itself, only then you will be able to retain it in your head for longer time. Okay, so that was about it. Then they also say that there are certain ionic exchange that is taking place among this local environment bacteria and the products that are present. For example, I'll read out this example, you'll understand better. Strongly charged or chemically highly reactive agents fail to reach the deeper zones of plaque biofilm because the biofilm acts as an ion exchange resin that removes such molecules from the solution. Okay, so this is one mechanism by which the bacteria tend to develop resistance against many antibiotics and other components which will otherwise help to break down the bacteria. Okay, so next set of things are also very important, which is microbial specificity in periodontal disease. Okay, so earlier it was thought that more the number of microorganisms, definitely more the plaque formation, hence more calculus, therefore more periodontal destruction. Okay, so basically the importance was given to the quantity. Okay, so that is non-specific plaque hypothesis, where the importance is given to the amount of plaque that is present. So it is so it's stated that elaboration of noxious products by the entire plaque flora. Okay, when this theory came into existence, there were few findings that contraindicated them. They were some people had lot of calculus and lot of microorganisms in the oral cavity, but still the disease did not progress from gingivitis to periodontitis. Okay, so that was one problem. If you have like so much calculus, so much plaque, according to this theory, all those who have this much quantity of calculus should develop periodontitis, but that's not the case. And similarly, point number 2, in the same individual, there will be sites which are not having periodontitis, whereas there are certain other sites in which periodontitis is seen. Okay, so all these things led to the development of something called as a specific plaque hypothesis. Specific plaque hypothesis stated that the quality is important. If this particular bacteria is present, then there is destruction. Okay, and there are many things like Koch's postulates and all those things which help to come to such kind of a conclusion. If the disease is present, then the microorganism is present. If the disease is not there, then the microorganism is also eliminated. So many other such postulates and many other such findings. Also, one important finding is in localized aggressive periodontitis, which is a type of periodontal disease. In that type of periodontitis, when they check for the plaque sample, one particular type of microorganism is predominantly seen, aggregative bacteria Actinomycetum comitans. So this also helped to come to a conclusion that yeah, if this particular microorganism is present, then this particular disease will be present. Okay, so that was a specific plaque hypothesis. Now the third one is the ecological plaque hypothesis. This was given by Marsh and co-workers. Okay, they stated that both the totality of the dental plaque and the specific microbial composition contributes to the transition from health to disease. Okay, and this concept also gave a lot of importance to the microenvironment. Okay, so basically it states that, the way I understand it is, only if there are these many number of microorganisms will there be primary colonizers which are making the environment oxygen depleted and allowing the secondary colonizers to come in and form colonies there. Okay, and these secondary colonizers are P. gingivalis, aggregative bacteria Actinomycetum comitans, all these microorganisms. So the change in the environment is because of a certain bulk, okay, which is changing the redox potential, changing the pH, and these certain specific microorganisms are also playing an equally important role to create that particular disease. Okay, I hope I have not confused you. In very simple language, it means that this ecological plaque hypothesis has brought both the theories together. Okay, the amount of plaque is also important and the quality of plaque is also important, and the host cells and the bacteria and the local microenvironment also plays an important role in the growth and accumulation of plaque bacteria. Okay, now the next one is keystone pathogen hypothesis and polymicrobial synergy and dysbiosis model. Now what is this dysbiosis model? I'll just read it out for you. The gradual shift in the entire microbial community is known as dysbiosis. The change in the entire community, okay, let it be the environment, let it be the type of organism that is present, that is called as dysbiosis. Okay, so this last theory, it states that certain pathogens may trigger the disruption of microbial hemostasis, leading to the development of periodontal disease even they are present only in low numbers. Certain pathogens, for example, P. gingivalis is a key pathogen. Even if it is present in low concentration for a prolonged amount of time, it may trigger the disruption of microbial hemostasis, okay, and lead to the development of periodontal disease. So this is regarding the microbial specificity of periodontal disease. Okay, so I'll just once again quickly revise everything that I've spoken until here. So first thing I told you was the factors that affect supragingival plaque formation. So firstly, there is a lag time, and it's only over a period of 3 to 4 days that 30% of the total coronal area will be covered. Okay, so there is a microbial shift from gram-positive aerobic organisms to gram-negative anaerobic organisms that takes place as the plaque maturation occurs. Then the topography, micro roughness, variation in dentition, all this is really simple. You can learn it on yourself from text. Next is the characteristics of plaque biofilm. Most important point is this plaque biofilm is basically cells that are encased in a matrix of extracellular polymeric substances. Okay, and it becomes 1000 to 1500 times more resistant than the bacteria that is present in the free stage. Okay, and there is bacterial to bacterial interaction in which certain products from one bacteria, byproducts from one bacteria are used by another bacteria for its growth. There is also host to bacterial interaction that is taking place. Then there is quorum sensing, in which the bacteria are contacting each other and causing a change in the local environment. Please do not write contacting each other and all in the book, okay, it's for you to understand. Then what did I talk about? I spoke about the non-specific plaque hypothesis, which is gave more importance to the quantity. Then I spoke about specific plaque hypothesis, in which they said that the quality is important. Whereas the ecological plaque hypothesis by Marsh and co-workers, which is what is widely accepted now, said that the two theories can be combined together. Okay, so that is until here. Now next, coming to the transition from health to disease, in which we speak about the most predominant microorganism present in each different type of periodontal condition. So the next is a transition from health to disease. Okay, so each microorganism, its growth will be affected by nutritional determinants, by physicochemical determinants, by mechanical determinants. So all these, even if you state them individually when it comes to theory, all such things are interrelated. Okay, and if there is a change in the microbial composition because of microbial activity, then it is called as autogenic succession. Okay, and if this change is because of certain external things such as smoking, okay, then it becomes allogenic succession. So if the microorganisms are changing their type and changing their environment and their activity, then all those are autogenic succession. If smoking is what is, or smoking or any other such external agent is causing a change in the microbes, then it becomes allogenic succession. So now the current concept regarding the etiology of periodontal disease is considered to be because of three groups of factors. Now I've always told you about two groups of factors, which is one is the host cell and the next is the pathogenic bacteria. Okay, now the third, they say it is that disease may progress because of the absence of good bacteria also. Okay, so the third thing that they are mentioning here is the absence of small proportion of so-called beneficial bacteria. Okay, so these three things are responsible for disease. Okay, now in Carranza they have given point wise, like from health to disease, what are the changes. I might have mentioned it at least 5 times by now. Gram positive to gram negative, cocci to rods, non-motile to motile, so, and the other changes. I'm not reading it out. From Carranza it is there. Okay, next is periodontal health. Okay, next onwards they are talking about each condition and which microorganism is common in that particular condition. Okay, so if you read the text, you will be able to understand, but I'll just mention the main microbe present. Okay, so in periodontal health, I had told you that the beneficial bacteria are also important according to the current concept. So there will be more of beneficial bacteria, which is mostly S. sanguinis and Vanilla, Parvula and all those things. Next is gingivitis. In gingivitis, they say that equal proportion of gram-negative and gram-positive organisms are present. Chronic periodontitis, there is mostly P. gingivalis, T. forsythia, all these organisms. Localized aggressive periodontitis showed more of Aggregatibacter actinomycetum comitans, but when it came to generalized aggressive periodontitis, this AAC bacteria was present, but more than that, there was P. intermedia, Tannerella forsythia microorganisms were present. Okay, then necrotizing periodontal disease showed more of P. intermedia, and abscess showed more of F. nucleatum and P. gingivalis. So these are the different microorganisms which are predominantly present in these different types of periodontal conditions. Okay, now the next one is also really very important. Virulence factors of periodontal pathogens. What are virulence factors of periodontal pathogens? Virulence factors of periodontal pathogens means what are the weapons that these microorganisms have that will help them to fight against the host cells. The weapons of the microorganisms which is helping them to fight against the host cells are called as virulence factors. In layman's term, what exactly are virulence factors? Please frame it the way it is given in Carranza. Okay. Now there are 3 set of virulence factors which are important when it comes to periodontal destruction, which is factors that promote colonization, toxins and enzymes that degrade host cells, and mechanisms to protect the periodontal pathogens from the host. Now factors that promote colonization, for example, they are now certain microorganisms have something called as fimbriae. Okay, it is not a tail, but it is something like a tail in which the microorganism is present, and it has got a long tail-like structure in which repeated subunits are present. Okay, and this will go and help to adhere the microorganism to the base. Okay, so that is for example fimbriae, okay, of certain gram-negative organisms, which is one factor which will help to promote the colonization of microorganism. Next is tissue destruction factors, which is basically these certain microorganism will release certain factors which will go and cause destruction of the tissue. Over here, for undergraduate level, I think it is important if you know just precisely that P. gingivalis has certain virulence factor called as gingipanes. Okay, now what do these gingipanes do? Gingipanes will help to lyse or cleave the arginine or lysine peptide bond of the host. Okay, this is simple to understand. Okay, P. gingivalis has certain factors like gingipanes which will help to cleave the lysine and arginine polypeptide bonds of the host, which will eventually cause host destruction. The next is strategies for mechanism that protect them from the host. The most important and the most easiest understood is that most of them will have an extra outer covering like a cell wall. Okay, these bacteria which is helping them to protect against the host. Other than that, there are many other things that are present. Degradation of host innate and acquired immunity and other things as well. So over here I hope I've done justice to this chapter. Please watch both the videos and please do let me know your feedback and comments. Also, I request you to share with your friends to subscribe to this channel. Okay, thank you.